Hello beautiful souls and welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about and answer the question, what kind of cards should I buy? And a really quick answer is I can't tell you that. But I wanted to go through and show you some of the different types of cards that can be used, whether you use them for inner guidance, whether you use them for divination, shadow work. There's so many different ways to use these style of cards, and I wanted to talk about that and share some of the different types of cards. So we have tarot cards, we have kind of called these single word guidance cards, we have regular old playing cards, we have affirmation decks, we have oracle cards, and I'm sure there are some that I don't even have, I don't even know exist, but there are all sorts of different types of card decks like this, and there are many that kind of overlap different categories. These decks and the affirmation decks may kind of fall into the same category, and some, depending on the design, may fall into the oracle category. Some oracle cards may be very affirmation based. Some tarot cards can actually be designed kind of more like oracle cards and not use the typical tarot structure. There's a lot of different style cards, and what you should use will depend on what you want to use them for. It'll depend on what kind of artwork you like, what kind of size of cards you want, what your budget is, and how you want to use them. So let's start talking about some of these cards, okay? Let's see, can I fit them all on the screen this way? There we go, sure. So starting over here, we have the Animal Totem Tarot. This is the Rider Tarot. We have the Making Magic cards, the Starseed cards, Whispering Woods, Super Attractor, Money and the Law of Attraction, Numerology Guidance cards, Wisdom of the Oracle, and these are just a standard set of playing cards by Bicycle. Tarot cards they fall into, actually, let's start at the beginning. Let's start with playing cards. So the basis of cartomancy exists in playing cards. We have the spades, we have the clubs, we have the hearts, and we have the diamonds, right? Just like in tarot, we have the pentacles, the swords, the wands, and the cups. 4 different suits. We have court cards, and we have the minor arcana. I am not overly familiar with cartomancy and using playing cards. I more play Crazy Eights with my kids, but this is a possibility. You can start learning to read cards and connect your intuition through this tool, just using a basic deck of cards. Now obviously, the 4 of diamonds, visually, especially just using a regular set of playing cards, does not give you much visual information, visual clues. So you either have to really learn to tap into your intuition, or you have to memorize what each of these cards mean. From these, we move on to the tarot cards. The Rider-Waite-Smith deck is kind of the standard for tarot cards, and it has the major arcana, like this High Priestess, the Chariot, and then it also has the minor arcana, so the swords, the pentacles, the cups, the wands. Did I say them all? Cups, wands, swords, pentacles. And there are many different tarot decks that are based off of the original illustrations and imagery by Pamela Coleman Smith. She is the one who designed these cards. You can get a lot of different representations of this deck in different styles, and they're called a Rider-Waite-Smith style deck, or RWS. If you see that when you're looking at different cards, if it says RWS or Rider-Waite-Smith, it means that it has typical imagery from a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And the good thing about a Rider-Waite-Smith deck is that there are so many books based on the symbolism in this deck. Then you can go on to a deck like, say, the Animal Totem Tarot. And this deck is similar in many ways. This is a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. You can see we've got the Cups, there's the Strength card, and we've got Six of Cups, the Ace of Wands. There's a lot of overlapping symbolism in a deck like this, but you can tell that the artwork is drastically different. So if you like working with animals and you want to get into tarot, something like this might be something that you want. If you want the key concepts and the tradition of tarot, this might be a deck for you. And then there's a lot of decks, like, say, what's one that I have? I have the Antique Anatomy Tarot, which the symbolism is nothing like the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. They still use the same terms. It's kind of the same. Sometimes decks will have different terminology, like sometimes cups will be vessels, or sometimes it'll be blades instead of swords. There's a lot of different ways to approach a tarot, but tarot still typically has the 78 cards, the minor arcana, the court cards, and the major arcana. You can also buy just major arcana decks, and I believe you can also buy just minor arcana decks if that's something that you're interested in. But again, tarot kind of follows this set system of you have your minors, you have your courts, you have your major arcana, and all of the meanings associated with those cards typically is the same from deck to deck to deck. There will be some variations, difference in interpretations, depending on the artist and the author of the deck, but generally they're very similar. And then we go into oracle cards. Oracle cards can range anywhere from, I think I have a 22 card deck, and I've seen oracle cards with over 100, or oracle decks with over 100 cards in them. Oracle cards are really vastly different from one to another, and they often play on different themes and different visual styles. I picked two decks from my collection that I feel really represent this. They both give a lot of guidance, a lot of insight, but they are very different. So we have the Wisdom of the Oracle, which is a 52 card deck by Colette Baron-Reid. And then we have the Numerology Guidance Cards, which is a 44 card deck by Michelle Buchanan. And the Wisdom of the Oracle cards, they have a phrase and a beautiful image on them for you to interpret. There is a guidebook if you need help interpreting these, but you can also interpret them how you understand them to be. You know, like if we take this Breathe card, when I look at this card, I see the peacefulness of the water, this still. Oh, we're out of focus. Okay, sorry about that. I hope I wasn't out of focus for too long. I looked up, realized I needed a new battery, and that I was not in focus. So, the Wisdom of the Oracle cards, you have these beautiful imagery with a phrase. They have the guidebook, but there's also a lot that goes on within the visual representation of these cards. So here we have the Breathe card. It looks like this person is meditating. They're very still, they're very calm, focusing on their breath. very tranquil energy, peaceful energy. And with the flowers kind of opening up, it's like opening up your mind, opening up yourself to the meditative process, to slowing down and absorbing the messages or the intuition that follows. And the way, and honestly, these cards, and same with tarot, depending on the question that you ask, you can get a totally different answer. So if I was asking, how can I better prepare for a situation? I could interpret this, breathe, as you literally need to slow down. You need to breathe because you're panicking, and that's not going to get you anywhere. If you can calm down, you'll be in a better place. But then if I say, how can I better connect with myself, then I would take this more down that meditation route that I was talking about earlier. So there's all sorts of different ways to interpret all the different cards. Okay, here we have Clean It Up. If you were looking for guidance for the day and you pulled this card, it might be like, okay, I literally have to do some cleaning. I need to do some spring cleaning. I need to get my house spick and span. But then again, if I was asking for relationship guidance, it could be tying up loose ends and, not leaving things unsaid when they need to be said, or not, going to bed angry. Make sure you're cleaning up the situation before you move on. So there's all sorts of different ways to interpret oracle cards. And that's just the wisdom of the oracle. That's just one example. But then we have the numerology guidance cards, which look like this. There's no imagery on this. They're all the same. They're different colors, but they're all the same, right? We have a word and we have a number. So because this is a numerology guidance deck, the numbers do play a very important role. Not that they don't in these decks, because all of these decks are numbered too. So if you are really into numerology, these decks are all numbered as well, and you can use that. But if you look, they're all, and if you look in the guidebook, it tells you all about these different numbers. Okay? So then if we look at this card, say creativity. So for me, when I'm using these cards, I look at the number. So 3. 3 is a number of cycles. It's birth, life, death. It is beginning, middle, end. It is, it's a very cyclical number. And it's also, because of that, it's about a number of completion, but also new beginnings at the exact same time. You can look at the color of the card. So this is yellow, which often makes me think of gold, which makes me think of prosperity. And then it's also talking about creativity. That is the word cue on this card. So let's see, how can we begin this? We can, you look, okay, so number 3, new cycles for wealth, perhaps, are through your creativity, right? That's just one way to interpret these cards, and the guidebook could probably tell you something completely different. That's the beauty of oracle cards, is that there's so many meanings and so many interpretations, and they're really open-ended. Tarot I find to be a little more concrete, a little more in your face. It's a little more blunt, let's put it that way. If I'm having a hard day and I really just need an in your face, this is the answer, I typically turn to tarot because it tells you straight up. Oracle cards is a little more roundabout. They're going to give you guidance, they're going to help you find the way, but they're not going to give you the answers, which is something I love about oracle cards. But again, you can have imagery like this, or you can have very in-depth imagery. It's kind of like the playing cards with just the pip imagery versus the very elaborate imagery of the Rider-Waite-Smith. So oracle cards, there we go, really allows you to use your intuition. And then we come on to this kind of category of cards. I have broken it up into 2 separate spaces. These cards are very much, the one word is going to be very strong for you. So like this says wisdom, but then it does have a little bit of information. It says, see your adversaries as opportunities to expand your spiritual light. Okay. We've got blue star. Follow the light of your inner compass, the blue star. It will lead you to the truth that resides within your soul. And the making magic is very similar. Prosperity, a prosperous business with riches and success. And same with the whispering woods, like it has teach, inspire others to let nature be your greatest teacher. So these decks like these, I find are great for connecting with yourself. I find these are great guidance cards for what you might need to focus on for the day, or the situation or the week, however you want to use them. They're not telling you the answers, they're just giving you a little peek in the right direction. So these cards are great for like personal development and better understanding yourself. And then the final category is these affirmation cards. So we have some by Gabrielle Bernstein and some by Esther Hicks with the teachings of Abraham. So both of these authors have multiple decks. I have many other ones from Gabrielle Bernstein, and I know there are a lot more about the teachings of Abraham Hicks. And what's great about these is they give you more information than the single word guidance cards. They actually give you a full affirmation to focus on. So this one says, true manifestations are powered by service and love. I actually picked up two. So we also have, the universe is always conspiring to support me, guide me, and lead me compassionately towards the highest good. So affirmation and insight. This is really a mantra. These cards are great to use as a mantra for your day. If I'm having a hard day, I'll pull one of these cards and really sit with that message and repeat it to myself, especially if it's something that really resonates with me. They're just, well, here, it says, to help you start manifesting your limitless abundance today. Right? These are meant to be used as affirmations, as incantations. You can pull a card a day, you can work with multiple cards. There's all sorts of ways to use affirmation cards, just like, I should turn that the right way, just like you can use affirmations in journaling, you can use it in meditation, you can use it in mirror work, all sorts of ways to use affirmations. And sometimes if you have a hard time coming up with your own affirmations, using something like this may be beneficial. These Abraham Hicks cards are just slightly different. So it's got a little bit on the front. It says, rather than complaining, I will focus on positive aspects. And then on the back, it gives you a very in-depth decipher of the message. So it says, when you focus upon lack in an attitude of complaining, you establish a vibrational point of attraction that only gives you access to more thoughts of complaint. Your deliberate effort to tell a new story will establish a new pattern of thought, providing you with a point of attraction from your present about your past and into your future. The simple effort of looking for positive aspects will set a new vibrational tone that will begin the immediate attraction of thought, people, circumstances, and things that are pleasing to you. So if you're familiar with the work of Esther Hicks, these are very much written the way that she talks. Like if you've ever seen one of her presentations, like they're all over YouTube. You can find them all over YouTube. But these cards are very much written the way that she talks. And when audience members ask her questions, sometimes the answers that are on these cards sound just like she was answering someone's question. And I find that These ones are all about money and the law of attraction, but it can apply to a lot more than money. Really just when you're looking for abundance in anything, whether it is financial or whether it's, say, love or health, these cards kind of answer your questions while giving you something to focus on as well. Whereas these affirmation cards are more just giving you the affirmation. So it's two different styles of affirmation cards. But there's so many different types of cards. There's so many different styles and artwork, and there's just so much to be explored in the realm of all of these different cards, that I hope this kind of gives you some guidance as to where you might want to begin. I personally began with the classic tarot. Again, I mean, I've been playing cards for years, but I've never used them to connect with my intuition. So, I mean, if you have these kind of cards at home and you don't have the budget to buy anything else, start playing around with these. But I personally started with the tarot, and then I went into the oracle cards. And then as I started to learn more about the law of attraction and manifestation and affirmations, that's when I added affirmation cards to my life. And these little single word guidance cards have been things that have just come to my attention fairly recently. And I've been loving working with them. Like these are literally the only three that I have. I have way more of all of these other cards. But these are the only three of these ones that I have. But I really like them because I find these ones combine the affirmation with the oracle. It doesn't tell you exactly what you need, but it gives you a really good jumping off point. So again, depending on what it is that you're wanting to use, cards 4 will depend on what route you go down. If you like the really more open-ended, free-form style, you might want to go with the oracle cards. If you want something that has a little bit more of a history behind it and a little bit more concrete answers, you might want to go with tarot. If you're looking just for affirmations, then this kind of style of card will be what you'll want to look for. And these cards here, especially like the Gabrielle Bernstein cards and the Esther Hicks cards, if you feel uncomfortable checking in with your intuition, or if you don't feel like you can connect with your intuition, we all can connect with our intuition, but if you don't feel like you're there yet, these cards are a great way to kind of test the waters. They give you all the information that you need right there on the card. You don't need to be flipping through to guidebooks. In fact, these cards don't come with guidebooks. The Gabrielle Bernstein cards do have accompanying books. Like this goes along with the Super Attractor book. You don't buy them together, but you can use that as a resource. But it's just if you're uncomfortable with connecting with your intuition and feel like you won't be able to do these yet, then this might be a great place to start. So let me know down in the comments where you started or what you might feel would be a good place for you to start. What is drawing you? If you started with tarot, let me know what deck. If you started with oracle, let me know what deck. And I would love to have other people down in the comments share their story so that people who find this video just getting into the practice of card reading, and it is a practice. This is not something you're going to be good at overnight. I got my first tarot deck when I was 16. I am now 36. So this is not something that will come to people overnight. Some people are able to connect with their intuition really easily, especially if they pick the deck that really resonates with you. Some decks for me are easier to read than others. Some decks I'm like, I have no clue what this is trying to tell me. Even if it is like a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, it's just we don't connect with the deck. It's fine. I can't remember what I was saying. But anyways, yeah, so share your experience. This is a practice. Don't feel bad if you can't get it overnight. And sometimes you have to go through a couple decks. Sometimes you need to explore tarot and then explore oracle before you really feel like you can connect with your intuition, and that's okay. It's a practice. We are all learning and improving every day. Again, I've been doing this since I was 16, and I still look at this card, at this deck, and like, look at this. Like, this is beat up. Like, these cards are, can you see how it's kind of gross? They're kind of brown on the edges, but I mean, they're well used. They're frayed. They're, you know, these cards have been read hundreds of times, and yet there is still imagery and messages that I get that it's like, wow, I didn't notice that before. And actually, I will flat out say that in my videos as I'm talking. Sometimes I'll be like, wow, I've never noticed this part of the card before. And it's true. When I say that, I'm not lying, I'm not making it up. It's true. Even me, who has been doing this for 20 years, still learns new things almost every time I pull out a deck, especially if it's a new deck, but also when it's an old deck. So enjoy the practice. Getting into cards shouldn't be stressful. It should be fun. It should be exhilarating. And I hope you enjoy it. So enough rambling. In my next video, well, actually, there's gonna be some readings, but in the next video like this, I'm actually going to go more in depth about different kinds of tarot cards, and then I'm going to do the same thing with different kinds of oracle cards in a different video, where I'm going to show you a lot more decks to really show you the different aspects of the different cards and really help to dive more into this topic of how to pick the right card deck for you. So, okay, now I'm done rambling. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Love, light, and happiness to all of you. Bye.